Hi guys, welcome to my channel Lush Gardener. I hope you guys are fine and are safe. So guys, today I'm going to be talking about another succulent that belongs to the genus of Crassula, called as Crassula Ovata, or also commonly known as the jade plant. Now guys, a lot of you are very confused because a lot of people have told me that they have seen this plant labeled as Crassula Ovata, whereas on some websites it is being sold as jade. Now guys, there is no confusion among this. It is a jade plant, but jade tends to belong to the genus of Crassula. So the scientific name of this plant is Crassula Ovata. Now guys, the care requirement remains the same as we have spoken about this earlier as well. So I any which ways had to do a repotting for my jade plant. Now guys, this jade plant was in a 3-inch concrete pot for almost 2.5 years, and now because the space was very less in the pot, you can see the stem of the jade plant has started to turn really thick. Now guys, if you are a kind of a person who is into bonsai plants or wants to create bonsai or is a beginner, I think this is one of the plant you can start with, because without putting in much efforts, this plant already starts looking like a bonsai, especially when you have kept it in a very small pot. So as and when the plant starts to grow, the stem becomes even more thick, and slowly the plant stem will start looking like a miniature tree trunk. So it's a very good idea if you want to start with bonsai making. Now without putting in much efforts, this plant tends to look a lot like a bonsai plant. Now guys, over here this plant was in a 3-inch pot earlier. Now I'm moving it to a 5-inch pot. So the soil for the jade plant remains the same, that is, the soil has to be loose, porous and well draining. Now guys, please don't be in a hurry. Always whenever you're doing a repotting, go with the next big size of the pot. Now over here it was in a 3-inch pot, so I'm moving to a 5-inch pot. Now please do not just jump on to a 8-inch pot or a 9-inch pot, because remember, if the pot is big, it is going to have more soil. More soil in the pot means that the soil is going to take some time to dry, which means that the soil is going to stay wet and moist for a really long time. At the end of the day, jade is a succulent. It does not like to be sitting in wet soil for a really long time. Otherwise, you will have root rot. So whenever you are doing a transfer of your succulent from one pot to another, ensure that the next pot is just a size bigger than the one that you already have. Another thing that you notice, again, the leaves are thin. They are not very plump. So that means that they need slightly more watering compared to other succulents. But again, guys, not soggy, wet soil. You need to maintain a slight moisture in the soil. Probably in the warmer months, you can do a little bit more of watering. But during the winters, it takes some time for the soil to dry. So you can cut down on the watering. Now here is another jade plant of mine that is growing in a 4-inch concrete pot. Now guys, again, if you look at the stem, it is already starting to turn thick, and this is how it gives a very bonsai kind of effect. So as I said, you do not need to put in a lot of efforts. Without any efforts itself, this plant tends to resemble a lot like a bonsai plant. Now guys, talking about the light, you can either give it indirect bright light or you can give it morning direct sunlight. But please do not keep this plant in shade. Do not give it low light. If you're going to do so, the plant will start to stretch. So you can either give indirect bright light, but if you're going to give indirect bright light, then this plant will not have really bright colors. It's going to stay slightly on the greener side. But if you want your jade to turn slightly red in color, because when the plant gets stressed, the edges of the leaves will initially start turning red. It will basically get red tips, and then slowly the leaves will also start turning red. But that is only when you tend to give it direct morning sunlight. For 4 to 5 hours should be good. But guys, please do not keep jade plant in direct afternoon sunlight. It will burn the leaves, so avoid direct afternoon sunlight. You can either give indirect bright light or you can provide it with morning direct sunlight. Now guys, when I'm talking about morning direct sunlight, I would always advise you to give morning direct sunlight only during the winter season, because at that point of time the sun is very mild, so that works out really well. But during the summers and during the afternoon sunlight, please do not keep it in direct afternoon sunlight, or do not give it a lot of strong sunlight, otherwise the leaves will start to get burnt. So this is another jade plant. This is the third jade plant that I have, and I had showed it to you in my last video as well. And here as well, you can see the trunk of the jade plant is really thick, and this is how they tend to grow. And you'll also notice another thing, there is an aerial root. So if you want to propagate it, you can give a cut over there. Now guys, if you look at the leaves, this is what I was talking about. You can see the red tips. This is because I have started placing my my jade plant in morning direct sunlight, but it is not getting a lot of color because, as I said, it is monsoon season over here and it is raining a lot and there is not much of sunlight. But still, with very little amount of sunlight, you can see the tips of the jade leaves have started to turn red, and over the period of time, whenever it tends to receive more direct sunlight, the leaves will start turning even more red in color. So guys, probably in the next few months, I don't think that this is going to get enough color because, as I said, it is monsoon season. There is hardly any sun, but I promise I will definitely make a update video on it maybe in the month of November or December when there is going to be more of direct sunlight. So now let's quickly move on to how to propagate and multiply a jade plant. Now guys, it's very simple because this has these stems. It's much easy to give a cut on the stem. Now guys, there are two methods. One is stem cutting and one is leaf propagation. Now guys, I'm going to show you how to do stem cutting, and I would always advise you, if you are a beginner or if you're just starting with succulents, always go for a stem cutting. Don't do a leaf propagation, and I will tell you later on why so. Now let's find a spot where we can give a cut on the stem. Always ensure that you take a cutting that has a good length of stem so that it can be much easy for it to root. Now I have found a spot. This is going to be working out really well, so I'll quickly go ahead and give it a chop. Now guys, the same thing is going to follow again whenever we tend to do any kind of cutting. The same process follows for all the succulents. We are going to let it to callus and then we are going to air root it. Now if you want to air root it, you can, or if you want to put it directly into the soil after it has callus, then you can do that as well. So guys, this is how the cutting will look like. Now as I said that the stem cutting is much easy, especially if you're a beginner. Please go with the stem cutting. Do not do leaf propagation, and I'm going to show you why. So as I said, if you're a beginner, please don't go for a leaf propagation. The best option is stem cutting. Now guys, leaf propagation is possible. It does propagate via leaves, but the issue is not with leaf propagation. The issue is getting the leaf from the mother plant. Now if you pay closer attention to the mother plant, you will be able to see the leaf, the way it is attached to the stem. You will able to see that there is an alphabet C. It's basically like a C curve that is attached to the mother stem. Now when you are trying to pluck the plant, you are supposed to take the entire leaf, and the end of the leaf should have that C alphabet. Now if you happen to break half of the leaf on the mother stem, then that leaf will not get propagated. Now that's the reason why if you're a beginner, it is going to be very difficult for you to get the entire leaf out with the C alphabet as well. Now I'm just using the term as C alphabet. I don't know exactly what it's called, so I'm just giving you a layman explanation for this. So over here, as you can see, this is where the leaf is joining to the mother stem. So whenever you tend to pluck the leaf, the entire leaf has to come along with that C alphabet. Don't worry guys, I know it sounds very confusing, so I'll quickly give you an example. Now guys, on a usual succulents, whenever we tend to do a leaf propagation, we just gently twist and turn and we get the clean cut leaf. But over here, it's not going to work out. You cannot do the twist and turn because that's exactly what I did, and you can see the C alphabet is still stuck on the mother plant, which means that the leaf has not been properly plucked, which means that the leaf that we have will not get propagated. Almost 90% it might not get propagated. Over here, as you can see, the C alphabet is missing, and this is not the right way to pluck leaves from a jade plant. So now let me show you how a good plucked leaf looks like. Now guys, if you pay closer attention to the stem over here, you will be able to see that there is a clean cut. You will not be able to see any fragments of the leaf. You will not be able to see the C alphabet on this because this leaf was plucked correctly. It was properly plucked out of the stem. Another important thing, as you can see, there is an open wound on the stem, so this part should not come in contact with water or moisture. Now guys, over here I have the leaf. So this is how the proper plucked leaf looks like. You can see the C alphabet is present on the end of the leaf. So this is a proper way to take a leaf from the jade plant, and this will get propagated in future. Again, the propagation update I will be putting up on another video because this is going to take a really long process. process. Now guys, over here you will be able to see how well the leaf has got detached from the mother plant. Now this is how it's supposed to be done. You will be able to see that the C alphabet is present on the mother leaf. So this is a comparison picture. On the right you can see the leaf that was incorrectly plucked, and on the left hand side you can see the leaf that was correctly plucked. So you can see there is a major difference on the end of the leaf. So guys, a lot of you have been asking me how to clean the tools before cutting succulents, because as I've said, whenever you're doing a cutting, the cutting material, be it scissor, blade, knife, has to be sterile. So guys, you can do it with two ways. One is you can either use rubbing alcohol or you can use hand sanitizer. Now why hand sanitizer? Because guys, rubbing alcohol is not available to everyone, including myself. I have tried my best to search in my local area, but I haven't found rubbing alcohol. So I always tend to use hand sanitizer to clean the cutting tools. Now guys, there is another method as well, which is a very old method, that is putting your equipments in hot boiling water, but that can get little tedious. And another important thing is you have to let it dry and the equipments have to cool down. So that is a little tedious method, but again, that method also tends to work very well, basically by putting your cutting equipments, your scissor, blade, knife in hot boiling water. That will make the blade sterile. But again, that is a very tedious process. It takes a lot of time, because after that the cutting material has to cool down. There shouldn't be any water, because remember, whenever we are doing any kind of cutting, there should not be any water or moisture on the blade, scissor and knife. So the best option is go with a hand sanitizer or rubbing alcohol. It works perfect. So coming back to the jade plant, I forgot about a very important topic, and that is related with pests. Now guys, usually a jade plant will not get affected with mealy bugs, but in case if you happen to see, you can use any of the organic solution. But if you happen to see white fungus or mold growing on it, then you can use hand sanitizer or rubbing alcohol. You can either use it on a Q-tip or a earbud, and then just clear and clean the affected area. Please do not spray neem oil on jade plant. It might happen to kill, because I've heard that neem oil tends to kill a lot of succulents. So please don't try it out. Another important thing guys, you'll start noticing that there are some black spots on my jade plant. Now guys, this is very common. This is called as edema. Jade plants are very prone to edema, so there is nothing to be worried. Probably you'll have to take care with your watering. You'll have to keep a close eye on your watering and have a proper watering schedule. But in general, edema is not very dangerous if it's in a very less number. And apart from that, a lot of times jade plants does get the edema naturally. There is nothing much you can do about it other than just keeping a proper watering schedule. So guys, I hope that this video on jade plant was helpful to you. If it was, please hit the like button. If you're new to my channel, please consider subscribing to it. Until then, take care, stay safe, bye bye.